The message arrived on a Tuesday morning, transmitted across 300 light-years of empty space. It was an invitation that humanity had been waiting for since they first left Earth's atmosphere and discovered they were not alone in the universe. Ambassador Diane Park stood in the briefing room of Earth's diplomatic headquarters, reading the translated message for the 7th time. He was a man in his 50s, with gray touching his temples and lines around his eyes from years of negotiation. The Galactic Council wanted to meet. After decades of cold silence and carefully worded warnings to stay within human space, they finally wanted to talk about peace. "It's real," said Commander Minho Kang, standing beside him. Minho was younger, built like an athlete, with the confident posture of someone who had spent 20 years in Earth's defense forces. He handled security for all diplomatic missions. Intel confirmed the source. "It's legitimate." Doyen nodded slowly. The Council represented over 40 species spread across known space. Humanity had been aware of them for 30 years, but had never been invited to their stations or worlds. The few encounters had been brief, tense, and conducted through communication screens. Some human observers called it a Cold War. Others called it quarantine. "Why now?" asked Dr. Yoonji Choi, leaning against the conference table. She was the expedition's xenobiologist, a specialist in alien life who had studied every scrap of information humanity possessed about Council species. Her enthusiasm for alien life was legendary among her colleagues. "What changed? Does it matter?" Ji-Won Lee spoke up from the corner. She was the youngest member of the team, barely 30, with bright eyes and the earnest energy of someone on their first major assignment. As cultural liaison, her job was to prevent exactly the kind of misunderstandings that had marked earlier human-alien contacts. "This is our chance to join the galactic community properly." Diane smiled at her optimism, but felt the weight of responsibility. He had negotiated treaties between Earth nations, had helped end conflicts that killed thousands. This was different. This was humanity's first real impression on the galaxy. "We leave in 3 days," he said. "The Council is sending coordinates to Nexus Station. It's neutral territory, built specifically for diplomatic meetings. We'll take the Harmony's Dawn." The Harmony's Dawn was Earth's finest diplomatic vessel, designed to impress and accommodate. It had comfortable quarters, meeting rooms, and enough space for the small delegation. More importantly, it was unarmed, a clear message of peaceful intent. Over the next 72 hours, the team prepared. Yoonji studied biological data about the 3 main species they would meet. The Vethra were crystalline beings, fragile and beautiful, who communicated through light patterns as much as sound. The Plenum were aquatic, requiring special suits to exist in oxygen atmospheres. The Kresh were insectoid, with complex social structures humanity was still trying to understand. Minho drilled his security team on protocols. No weapons except what was necessary for the ship's safety. No aggressive postures. Everything they did would be watched and judged. G1 prepared cultural briefings, studying every available record of Council customs. She created guides for proper greetings, gift-giving traditions, and conversation topics to avoid. Her notes covered 200 pages. Doyen spent his time reviewing negotiation strategies and humanity's goals. Peace, obviously. Trade agreements. Cultural exchange. A seat at the council table. Simple things that would change everything for Earth. The launch was quiet, with minimal ceremony. The Harmony's Dawn lifted from Earth's surface and engaged its faster-than-light drive. The journey would take 5 days. During the flight, the crew maintained their routines. Minho led morning exercise sessions, nothing intense, just enough to stay healthy in the ship's artificial gravity. Yoonji lost herself in research, making notes about alien biology. Ji-Won practiced speeches in front of her mirror, trying to sound confident and friendly. Diane mostly thought about what humanity would say when they finally sat across from the council. How did you explain Earth to beings who had never seen a sunrise or felt rain? How did you describe humanity's journey from scattered tribes to a unified species reaching for the stars? Sir, we're approaching Nexus Station. The pilot announced on the fifth day. Du Yun came to the bridge and saw it through the view screen. Nexus Station was enormous, a wheel of metal and light spinning slowly in the darkness. It was bigger than any human structure, clearly built by civilizations with far more experience in space than Earth. It's beautiful, Ji-won whispered beside him. It's intimidating, Minho corrected. But he smiled slightly. Yoonji was scanning with her instruments, reading multiple environmental zones. They've prepared sections for different species requirements. Air breathers, water breathers, even methane atmospheres. The engineering is incredible. The station's traffic control directed them to a docking bay. As they approached, Doyen saw other ships, alien designs that looked nothing like human vessels. Some were organic in appearance, others geometric and precise. Humanity's ship looked almost primitive by comparison. They docked smoothly. The airlock cycled, and a message appeared on their screens in translated English. Welcome to Nexus Station. The council awaits in Chamber 1. Please proceed when ready. Dion straightened his formal suit, a dark blue designed to look professional without seeming military. Minho checked that his dress uniform was perfect. Yoonji grabbed her data tablet. Ji-won took a deep breath. Remember, Daeun said to his team, we're here to make friends. Show them humanity at its best. Confident, friendly, and peaceful. They opened the door and stepped into the station, completely unaware that the Galactic Council was on the other side of those walls, preparing themselves to meet what they believed were the most dangerous beings in known space. The humans walked forward with smiles on their faces, ready to shake hands and build bridges. Behind them, the door sealed shut with a quiet hiss that sounded almost like a warning. The corridor leading to Chamber 1 was wide and well lit, designed to accommodate beings of different sizes and needs. Dion noticed the floor had a strange texture, slightly soft, probably to support species with different types of locomotion. The walls displayed abstract patterns that shifted slowly, perhaps meant to be calming. Environmental systems read as comfortable, Eunji said, checking her tablet. Temperature is moderate. Oxygen levels are perfect for us. They've set the atmosphere to suit multiple species. The gravity feels light, Minho observed, walking with an easy stride. Maybe 60% of Earth normal? Dayan nodded. It did feel lighter, but not uncomfortably so. It made sense that the station would choose a compromise gravity that didn't favor any one species. He made a mental note to move carefully so he didn't accidentally jump or seem aggressive. They reached a large door that split open silently. Beyond was Chamber 1. The room was circular and vast, with a domed ceiling that displayed what looked like a star field. Seating was arranged in a semicircle, with different types of chairs and platforms for different body types. And in those seats were the aliens. Doyen saw them and felt his heart beat faster with excitement. This was the moment humanity had dreamed about for generations. The Vethra delegates sat to the left, 3 beings that looked like they were carved from crystal and colored glass. Light moved through their bodies in patterns. They were beautiful and delicate, almost glowing in the chamber's light. The plenum occupied special water-filled platforms in the center. Through the transparent material, Doyoung could see their flowing forms, like intelligent octopi with more grace and symmetry. Their suits allowed them to speak through some kind of translation device. The Kresh were on the right, insectoid beings with multiple limbs and compound eyes that reflected the light. Their bodies were covered in what looked like natural armor, colored in deep blues and greens. There were others too, species Doyen didn't recognize from the briefings. The chamber held perhaps 20 different beings, all watching the humans with complete attention. Ambassador Park, one of the Vethra, spoke, their voice coming through translation speakers. "Welcome to Nexus Station. I am Elder Sheriff. We have prepared this meeting to discuss peaceful relations." Doyen smiled warmly and stepped forward with his hand extended. "Elder Sheriff, the honor is ours. Humanity is grateful for this opportunity." He meant it as a friendly greeting, the standard human gesture of goodwill. But he noticed immediately that something was wrong. The elder drew back slightly. The light patterns in their bodies shifted to colors Doyen didn't recognize. Around the chamber, other aliens made movements that seemed nervous. After an awkward moment, the elder extended what might have been their equivalent of a hand, touching Doyen's fingers briefly before withdrawing. The contact was hesitant, almost fearful. Confused but continuing, Doyen gestured to his team. "May I introduce my delegation? Commander Menho Kang, Head of Security, Dr. Yoonji Choi, our xenobiology specialist, and Jiwon Lee, our cultural liaison." Each of them smiled and nodded politely. Minho stood with his hands clasped behind his back, a relaxed military posture. Yoonji waved enthusiastically. Jiwon bowed slightly in respect. More nervous movements from the aliens. One of the creche made a clicking sound that the translators rendered as distress. "Please, be seated," Elder Sheriff said, gesturing to chairs that had been prepared for the humans. The delegation sat down. The chairs were comfortable, and Doyen noticed they were positioned slightly lower than the alien seats, probably another attempt at making everyone equal. He appreciated the thought. "We should begin with introductions," Doyen suggested, still smiling. "Perhaps each delegation could share something about their homeworld to help us understand each other better." There was silence. Then a plenum delegate spoke, their voice bubbling through the translator. "Yes, understanding is important. Tell us, Ambassador, about Earth." "Of course," Doyen said, pleased to start on common ground. "Earth is a beautiful world, the birthplace of humanity. We have vast oceans, high mountains, forests, and deserts. It's a world full of life in many forms. And this life," the plenum continued, "is it dangerous?" Doyen blinked. "Well, there are some dangerous animals, certainly. But humans have learned to live safely. We've built cities, created technology, and what kind of dangerous animals?" asked a creche delegate, leaning forward. Yoonji spoke up, excited to discuss biology. "Oh, Earth is incredible biodiversity. Large predators like lions and tigers, ocean predators like sharks and orcas, even small dangerous creatures like certain spiders and snakes. It's a very dynamic ecosystem." The aliens were very still now. Doyen saw what looked like fear in their postures. "But humans are safe from these predators?" Elder Sheriff asked carefully. "Mostly," Minho said with a casual shrug. "Though some people like to study them up close. I have a friend who swims with sharks for fun." The reaction was immediate. Several aliens made sounds of alarm. One of the smaller delegates actually left their seat and moved toward the back of the chamber. Doyen felt the situation slipping away from him. "Perhaps we should clarify. Your gravity," interrupted a different Vethra. "You move very easily in our standard environment. What is Earth's gravity?" "Standard for us," Doyen said. "About 1 Earth gravity, which I understand is higher than most council worlds." "And you evolved in this high gravity," the Vethra continued, "surrounded by predators." "Well, yes. But what do humans do for recreation?" Jiwon asked suddenly, trying to redirect the conversation to something positive. She was nervous, and it showed. "Ambassador Park enjoys hiking. I practice martial arts. Dr. Choi climbs mountains." She meant it as a way to show humans were normal people with hobbies. But Doyen saw immediately It was the wrong thing to say. Martial arts? The creche delegate repeated slowly. This is combat training? For sport and exercise, Jiwan said quickly. Not for actual fighting. Most humans learn some form of... Most humans train in combat. The creche's translator made their voice sound sharp. No, that's not what I meant. Minho tried to help. It's just fitness. I run 10 kilometers every morning to stay in shape. Basic health maintenance. 10 kilometers, the plenum said softly. As exercise, voluntarily. Dr. Choi mentioned climbing mountains, Elder Sheriff said. You ascend vertical surfaces for recreation? Yoonji nodded enthusiastically, not seeing the problem. It's wonderful. The challenge, the view from the top, the physical achievement. There's nothing quite like reaching a summit. Using equipment? The elder asked. Sometimes. Other times just with hands and feet. It depends on the difficulty. Diane watched as the elder's colors shifted to what he was beginning to recognize as alarm. Around the chamber, aliens were conferring in quiet voices. The atmosphere had changed completely from the cautious welcome of minutes before. Perhaps, Elder Sheriff said slowly, we should take a brief recess to allow everyone to process these introductions. Of course, Doyen agreed, though his heart sank. We're happy to accommodate. The aliens filed out quickly, with many backward glances at the human delegation. Within moments, the chamber was empty, except for the 4 humans. What just happened? Jiwan asked, her voice small. Minho frowned. Did we do something wrong? Yoonji was checking her notes frantically. I don't understand. We followed all the protocols. We were friendly, open, honest. Dion stood and walked to the center of the chamber, looking up at the artificial stars above. He felt the light gravity, remembered the fear in the elder's voice, and thought about how the humans had described themselves. Predators. High gravity. Combat training. Climbing cliffs with bare hands. Swimming with sharks for fun. Oh no, he said quietly. They're not afraid we'll attack them. They're afraid of what we are. Behind him, his team fell silent as understanding dawned. Their first contact wasn't failing because humans were doing something wrong. It was failing because humans were exactly what they appeared to be. Survivors from a death world who didn't realize how terrifying that made them seem. And the meeting had barely begun. The recess lasted 2 hours. Dion spent the time reviewing everything they had said, trying to find the exact moment things went wrong. His team sat in the small waiting room the station had provided, speaking in hushed voices. Maybe we should tone down the descriptions, Jiwan suggested. Don't mention predators or dangerous activities. But they'll research Earth anyway, Yoonji pointed out. We can't hide what our planet is like. Besides, being dishonest would be worse. Minho was pacing, which in the low gravity made him look like he was almost floating. We need to show them we're not a threat. Maybe I should keep my security team out of sight? That might make it seem like we're hiding something, Doyen said. He rubbed his temples, feeling a headache forming. We just need to be ourselves and hope they see past their fear. A chime sounded. The aliens were ready to reconvene. Back in Chamber 1, the atmosphere was different. The aliens had rearranged themselves slightly, with more distance between their seats and the human delegation. Dion noticed additional security robots or drones. He couldn't tell which hovering near the ceiling. Shall we continue? Elder Sheriff asked. The colors in their crystalline body were muted, controlled. Yes, thank you, Diane said. He kept his smile smaller this time, remembering that showing teeth might be seen as threatening. I wanted to address any concerns. Tell us about human history, interrupted a new voice. A being Doyen hadn't heard speak before, something that looked almost like a floating jellyfish, but with metallic elements. How did your species develop? Diane considered his words carefully. Like most species, I imagine. We started as scattered groups, developed agriculture, built civilizations. Over time, we learned to work together. But there were conflicts, the being pressed. Wars. There was no point denying it. Yes, many conflicts. Humanity's history includes violence, unfortunately. But we learned from those mistakes. That's why we unified, why we created the World Council, why we seek peace with other species. How many wars? Asked a Kresh delegate. I don't have an exact number, Doyen admitted. Thousands over our history. But the chamber erupted in whispers and sounds of alarm. Thousands. The word echoed. But we've changed, Doyen said urgently. Earth has been unified and at peace for over 50 years. We've put violence behind us. 50 years, Elder Sheriff repeated. And before that? Before that, we had conflicts, yes. But each one taught us something. We survived a nuclear age without destroying ourselves. We survived climate disasters, diseases, all the challenges a young species faces. Those trials made us strong enough to choose peace. He meant it to sound hopeful, like humanity had overcome darkness to reach the light. But he saw the aliens draw back even further, strong enough to survive apocalypses. That's what they heard. Yunji tried to help. What Ambassador Park means is that humans are resilient. We adapt. When faced with extinction-level events, we found solutions. 3 times in the last century, humanity faced threats that could have ended civilization, and each time we survived through cooperation and innovation. 3 extinction events, a plenum said slowly. In 100 years. And you continued fighting each other during these events? The Kresh asked. Some conflicts continued, yes, Minho admitted. Though most stopped when we realized we needed to work together to survive. The silence was heavy. Jiwan looked at Dayan with wide, worried eyes. This was going very badly. Perhaps we should lighten the mood, Dayan suggested. We brought refreshments from Earth as a gesture of friendship. A way to share human culture. He gestured, and Jiwan quickly moved to a container they had prepared. She pulled out a thermos of coffee and a sealed container of kimchi, homemade by her grandmother specifically for this mission. This is coffee, she explained, pouring the dark liquid into small cups. A popular human beverage. And this is kimchi, a traditional fermented food. Both are very important to human culture. She offered the cups to the nearest delegates. The Vethra elder took one carefully, as did a plenum and a Kresh. Yunji, trying to be encouraging, took her own cup of coffee and drank deeply. Wonderful. Not too strong. Then she opened the kimchi container and the spicy, pungent smell filled the chamber. Immediately, alarm sounded. The Kresh delegates' cup fell from their limbs and several beings backed away rapidly. The hovering security drones moved closer. What is that substance? The Kresh demanded. Our sensors detect dangerous compounds. Yunji looked confused. It's just kimchi. Fermented vegetables with garlic, ginger, and chili peppers. Chili peppers? The Kresh's voice rose. You're serving us capsaicin? That's a defensive chemical weapon. It's food, Yunji said, bewildered. She took a piece of kimchi and ate it. See? It's perfectly safe. Not even very spicy, honestly. My grandmother makes it much hotter. The elder's colors flash bright red. You consume toxins voluntarily? And in stronger concentrations than this? They're not toxins to us, Doyan tried to explain. Human biology can handle. The coffee. The plenum interrupted, their voice shaking. Analysis shows it contains a powerful stimulant. The dosage in 1 cup would be lethal to my species. Jiwan quickly gathered the cups. I'm so sorry. We didn't know. Humans drink this every day, multiple times. We should have tested compatibility first. Every day, the elder repeated. You consume lethal stimulants and chemical weapons as daily nutrition. It's not like that, Doyen said, but he could hear how weak it sounded. A new voice spoke from the doorway. Perhaps this explains their physiology. A tall alien entered, wearing what looked like a scientist's uniform. I've been analyzing the biological data the humans provided. With permission, I'd like to share my findings. Elder Sheriff gestured agreement, their colors showing resignation. The scientist activated a display that showed a rotating image of human anatomy. The humans evolved on a planet with high gravity, extreme temperature variations, and intense radiation from their star. Their bodies are incredibly dense with muscle tissue. Their bones can withstand forces that would shatter most species' skeletons. The image zoomed to show the human cardiovascular system. Their hearts are powerful pumps that maintain blood pressure in high gravity. They have redundant organs. Their healing factor is remarkable. They can recover from injuries that will be fatal to most council species. The scientist paused. And their brains. They possess high intelligence combined with emotional complexity. They form strong social bonds, but also have aggressive instincts. They're capable of both cooperation and violence, often simultaneously. Minho stepped forward. We're not monsters. Yes, we're physically capable, but we choose restraint. My security team trains constantly, not because we want to fight, but because being prepared prevents conflicts. Your security team, the Kresh delegate said. How many are aboard your ship? 12, Minho answered. And they're all trained in combat? Of course. That's the minimum requirement for any security position. So every one of your guards is a trained warrior, the Kresh said. And they're just your security team. Are the rest of you trained as well? Diane saw where this was going, but couldn't find a way to stop it. Basic self-defense is common in human education. Yes. All of you can fight, the elder said. It wasn't a question. We can, Doyen admitted. But we don't want to. That's why we're here to build peace, not wage war. Yunji spoke up, her voice earnest. Humans aren't naturally violent. We love, we create art, we care for each other. Yes, we're from a difficult world, but that taught us compassion. We protect the weak, we form families and communities. We even keep animals as companions, not for food or work, but just because we enjoy their company. What kind of animals? Asked the scientist. Dogs, cats, birds, Yunji listed. Some people keep reptiles or even larger animals. My neighbor has a dog that weighs 40 kilograms. You allow a 40-kilogram carnivore into your dwelling. The scientist's voice showed disbelief. Near your offspring? Dogs are gentle, Yunji protested. They're humanity's best friends. We've lived with them for thousands of years. You domesticated predators, the elder said softly. Of course you did. Diane felt the situation slipping completely away. Everything they said to prove humans were peaceful only made them sound more dangerous. They were strong because their world was harsh. They trained in combat to prevent violence. They kept predators as pets and consumed toxins for pleasure. How could he explain that all of this was normal? That humans didn't see themselves as terrifying? One of the Vethra delegates suddenly stood and left the chamber without a word. Then another followed. Soon, half the council was filing out, leaving only the elder and a few others who seemed too shocked to move. Perhaps, Elder Sheriff said quietly, we should adjourn for the day. This is much to process. Please, Doyen said, hearing the desperation in his own voice. Don't judge humanity by our evolution. Judge us by our choices. We chose to come here in peace. We will consider everything, the elder replied. Tomorrow, we reconvene. The humans were left alone in the vast chamber, surrounded by empty seats and failed hopes. The human delegation didn't sleep well that night. Diane lay in his quarters, staring at the ceiling and replaying the day's disasters in his mind. Every attempt to seem friendly had backfired. Every honest answer had made things worse. His communicator chimed softly. It was Yoonji. Can't sleep either? Her message read, No? You? He typed back. I've been researching council species biology. I think I understand the problem. To them, we're like walking nightmares. Everything that's normal to us reads as a threat display. Diane didn't respond. What could he say? She was right. Morning came too quickly. The team gathered for breakfast in the ship's galley. Nobody ate much. Even the coffee tasted bitter. We could request an early departure, Minho suggested quietly. Tell them we understand their concerns and will give them time to consider. That would look like retreat, Ji-won said. Like we're admitting we're dangerous, are we? Minho asked. I mean, compared to them, we are. Maybe they're right to be afraid. We're not monsters, Yoonji said firmly. We're just different. Diane made his decision. We continue. We face this honestly. If the council decides humanity is too dangerous, at least we'll know we tried. The second day's session was scheduled for midday. As they walked through the station corridors toward Chamber 1, Do-yoon noticed something had changed. Aliens they passed in the halls moved quickly out of their way. Some stared openly. Others wouldn't look at them at all. We're famous, Ji-won muttered. For all the wrong reasons. Chamber 1 was even less crowded than yesterday. Only about 10 delegates remained, including Elder Sheriff. The others had apparently decided they didn't need to attend. Diane felt a flash of anger at the insult, but pushed it down. Ambassador Park, the elder greeted them. Thank you for returning. We have questions. We're here to answer anything you ask, Doyan replied. For the next hour, they discussed human society, trying to explain Earth's government, culture, and values. The delegates listened, but their body language remained guarded. Every answer seemed to confirm their fears rather than ease them. Then, in the middle of a question about human education, something went wrong. One of the plenum delegates, a being named Curator Velis, suddenly began moving erratically in their water tank. Their translation device made garbled sounds. Other delegates noticed and began gesturing in alarm. Something's wrong with their environmental system, Yoonji said immediately, standing up. Her medical training kicked in before anyone could think. They're suffocating. The plenum's movements became frantic. Through their transparent tank, Diane could see their form losing color, their tentacles floating limply. We need to help, Yoonji said, already moving. Wait, Elder Sheriff called out. Medical personnel are... But Yoonji wasn't waiting. She crossed the chamber in long, bounding steps, the low gravity making her faster than she intended. She reached the plenum's tank and immediately began examining the life support systems. The oxygen recycler is failing, she announced. I can see the problem. Without hesitation, she plunged her hands into the water tank. Chaos erupted. Security drones converged on Yoonji's position. Alarms blared throughout the chamber. The remaining delegates scattered, some shouting in their own languages. Get away from them, someone shouted, but Yoonji ignored everything. Her hands found the malfunctioning component and pulled it free. I need a replacement cartridge, now. Minho was already there, having grabbed an emergency kit from the wall. He passed her what looked like it might work. Yoonji installed it with swift, confident movements, her hands still submerged in the alien's environment. The plenum's life support system hummed back to life. Water began circulating properly. Slowly, color returned to Curator Velis's form. Their tentacles moved with purpose again. Yoonji pulled her hands out of the tank, water dripping from her arms. She turned to find herself surrounded by security drones and terrified aliens. They're stable now, she said, confused by the reaction. The cartridge should hold until proper repairs can be made. You touched them, Elder Sheriff said, their voice shaking. You put your hands directly into their environment. They were dying, Yunji said simply. There wasn't time to wait. The water in that tank would be toxic to most species, a crash delegate said. The chemical composition, the pressure. I have gloves in my medical kit, but there wasn't time, Yunji explained. My skin can handle brief exposure. Humans are pretty resistant to. She stopped, seeing their faces. I was trying to help. You moved faster than our sensors could track, Elder Sheriff continued. You reached into an alien environment without protection. You repaired technology you've never seen before. In seconds. Diane stepped forward carefully. Dr. Choi is a trained emergency medical responder. She acted on instinct to save a life. That's all? That's all? The Elder's colors shifted rapidly through the spectrum. She demonstrated the exact capabilities we feared. Speed, adaptability, resistance to toxins. The ability to touch environments that would harm us, technical skills, and the willingness to act instantly in crisis. She saved Curator Velis, Jiwan protested. Yes, the Elder agreed. And that terrifies us even more. In the confusion, Curator Velis activated their translator. Human doctor. You saved my life. Unji approached the tank carefully. You're welcome. How do you feel? Confused, grateful, afraid. The plenum's tentacles moved in patterns that might have been their equivalent of shaking. You could have harmed me so easily, but you chose to save me instead. Of course I did, Yunji said. You needed help, but you're a predator. You're stronger than me, faster, more capable. Everything about you says danger. Yet you risked yourself to help me. The plenum was silent for a moment. I don't understand your species. Jiwan suddenly laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. Everyone turned to look at her. That's it, isn't it? She said. You don't understand us because you're trying to fit us into your categories. Predator or prey. Dangerous or safe. But humans are both. We're capable of violence and we choose compassion. That doesn't compute for you. Elder Sheriff's colors began to stabilize. Explain. Jiwan took a breath, organizing her thoughts. Every species here evolved in relatively peaceful environments, didn't they? Low gravity, few predators, stable climates. You developed intelligence in safety. But humans? We evolved in hell. Death was everywhere. Predators, diseases, natural disasters, other humans. So we became dangerous to survive. But we also became compassionate to survive. Because alone, we died. Together, we lived. She walked to the center of the chamber. You see our strength and assume we're violent. But our strength is why we can afford to be gentle. We don't need to prove we're dangerous. Everyone knows it already. So we can choose to be kind instead. But how can we trust that choice? Asked a Kresh delegate who had stayed. Today you help. Tomorrow you might harm. The same could be said of any species, Doyum pointed out. Trust isn't about capability. It's about character and consistency. Judge us by our actions, not our potential. Your actions today show both, Elder Sheriff said slowly. Frightening capability and selfless compassion. How do we reconcile these? Minho spoke for the first time in hours. You don't. You accept that both exist. Every human contains multitudes. We're warriors who prefer peace. We're survivors who help the weak. We're predators who choose to protect. That's not a contradiction. That's humanity. The chamber fell silent. The alarms had stopped. The security drones withdrew slightly. Curator Velis floated in their tank, alive because a human had acted without hesitation. I need to think, Elder Sheriff said finally. We all do. But first, they turned to Yunji. Thank you, Dr. Choi, for saving Curator Velis, for showing us something we needed to see. Eunji bowed slightly. I just did what any doctor would do. Perhaps, the elder said. But you did it in a way only a human could. As the session ended and the delegates filed out, Doyen noticed they were moving differently. Still cautious, still uncertain, but not fleeing. And Curator Velis approached their tank's edge, tentacles pressed against the transparent material nearest to Eunji. I will speak for you, the plenum said quietly. To the council. I will tell them what I saw today. A human who could have done anything but chose to save. It was, Doyen thought, the smallest beginning of understanding. But it was a beginning. Whether it would be enough, he didn't know. Doyen spent the night preparing for failure. He drafted 3 versions of his final speech to the council, each one attempting to salvage something from the ruins of first contact. None of them felt right. Around midnight, Ji-won knocked on his door. Can I show you something? She led him to the ship's observation deck, where Eunji and Minho were already waiting. Through the large viewport, they could see Nexus Station lit up against the darkness of space. It looked peaceful, beautiful even. I've been monitoring station communications, Ji-won said. Not eavesdropping, just watching public channels. The delegates are having emergency sessions, arguments. Some want us gone immediately. Others are defending us, or at least arguing for more time. Who's defending us? Doyen asked. Curator Velis is doing most of it. They've been speaking to every delegate who will listen, telling them what happened. How Dr. Choi saved them. Eunji looked uncomfortable. I just reacted. Any doctor would have done the same. But that's the point, Ji-won said excitedly. That's what Velis is telling them. That humans react to help others. That our first instinct was to save, not to harm. Minho leaned against the viewport. Isn't enough, though? One good deed doesn't erase their fear of what we are. Maybe not, Doyen agreed. But it's something. They stood in silence, watching the station. After a while, Eunji spoke quietly. I've been thinking about what Ji-won said yesterday. About humans being capable of violence but choosing compassion. Is that really what makes us special? Or are we just fooling ourselves? Every species probably thinks they're special, Minho said. No, I think Eunji's right to wonder, Doyen said. We survived because we could be ruthless when necessary. But we thrived because we learned when not to be. Maybe that's not special. Maybe that's just what any successful species learns. The difference is the path we took to get there. Morning came with a summons. Elder Sheriff requested their presence in chamber. 1. Final deliberations were complete. The human delegation, dressed in their formal attire, and walked to the chamber together. The corridors seemed quieter than usual, as if the entire station was holding its breath. Chamber 1 was full. Every delegate who had left yesterday had returned, along with several new faces. The circular room felt crowded, tense. Elder Sheriff stood at the center. Their crystalline body showed colors Doyen hadn't seen before, complex, patterns that might have indicated deep thought or mixed emotions. Ambassador Park, human delegation. Thank you for your patience. The elder paused. We have debated through the night about what humanity represents, about whether peace between our peoples is possible or wise. Doyen felt his heart sink. This was going to be a rejection. He prepared to deliver one of his prepared speeches, but Elder Sheriff continued. We have heard testimony from Curator Velis. We have reviewed all interactions with your delegation, and we have come to understand something important. We have been asking the wrong question. The elder moved closer. We asked, are humans dangerous? The answer is clearly yes. You are survivors from a world that would kill most of us. You possess capabilities we find frightening. This cannot be denied. However, Curator Velis spoke up from their tank. The question should be, will humans choose to harm us? And the evidence suggests they will not. Another voice joined in, a Kresh delegate. Dr. Choi could have done anything to Curator Velis. Instead, she saved them without hesitation. Commander Kang commands trained warriors, but keeps them disciplined and controlled. Ambassador Park has answered our fears with patience. Junior diplomat Ji-won has worked tirelessly to bridge our understanding. You're still dangerous, Elder Shirev said bluntly. But perhaps danger and friendship are not opposites. Perhaps the most valuable allies are those who are capable of great harm, but choose great kindness instead. Diane hardly dared to hope. Elder Shirev, what are you saying? I am saying the Council is willing to continue this dialogue, to build peace, slowly and carefully. But we need you to understand our perspective. The Elder's colors shifted to something soft, almost vulnerable. You must understand how frightening you are to us. We do, Yoonji said quickly. Yesterday showed us that. We're sorry. Don't apologize for what you are, Curator Velis said. But help us see beyond it. Show us the humans who love and create and dream. Not just the humans who survive and fight and endure. Doyem made a decision. An unconventional one, probably against every diplomatic protocol. But traditional diplomacy had already failed. Elder Shirev, may I show you something? He asked, not speeches or reports. Something real. The Elder gestured permission. Doyem pulled out his personal tablet and connected it to the chamber's display system. This is Earth, not the dangerous parts we've been talking about. This is home. The screen lit up with images from his personal collection. A sunrise over mountains. A city park full of families. Children playing in fountains, laughing. Elderly couples walking hand in hand. Street musicians entertaining crowds. A farmer's market with colorful produce and happy vendors. This is my niece, Diane said, showing a picture of a small girl holding an ice cream cone, her smile huge and gap-toothed. Her name is Sumi. She's 6 years old. She wants to be a teacher. He scrolled through more images. These are humans. Not warriors or survivors. Just people living their lives. Working, laughing, loving, dreaming. Unji stepped forward. May I? She added her own images. This is my mother's garden. She grows flowers because they're beautiful and vegetables because feeding people makes her happy. This is my best friend's wedding. This is my best friend's wedding. This is the hospital where I work, not treating combat injuries, but helping sick children recover. Minho added images of his security team. This is Private Taijin with his daughter. He does one of the most dangerous jobs in our society so that others can be safe. This is Officer Hyen teaching a self-defense class to elderly citizens. We train to protect, not to threaten. Ji-won showed pictures of Earth's diversity. This is a music festival. Art galleries. Libraries full of books. Universities where students study everything from history to quantum physics. We're not just about survival. We're about growth, learning, creating beauty. The chamber was silent except for the soft hum of technology. Aliens leaned closer to see the images. Doyeon watched their reactions carefully. Your offspring are vulnerable, observed a Kresh delegate, looking at the image of Sumi. Small, weak, requiring years of care. Yes, Doyeon said. Human children are helpless for a long time. So we protect them fiercely. Every human adult will defend a child, any child, even at cost to themselves. It's instinctive. That's why Dr. Choi acted so quickly, Curator Velis said slowly. Saving others is automatic for you. For many of us, yes, Yoonji confirmed. It's how we were raised. How we raise our children. To help those who need it. Elder Shirev's colors had shifted again. to something that might have been wonder. You are warriors who teach your young to be kind, survivors who value beauty, predators who protect the weak. We're contradictions, Minho agreed. But that's what makes us human. Show us more, the elder requested. For the next hour, they shared. Not reports or statistics, but life. Dion talked about his grandmother's cooking, how family meals brought everyone together. Yoonji explained the joy of discovery, of understanding how life works. Minho described the pride of mentoring young security officers, teaching them wisdom along with strength. Ji-won spoke about human art, music, literature, all the ways humans tried to capture and share beauty. The aliens asked questions. Real questions now, curious rather than fearful. What games did human children play? How did humans celebrate achievements? What made humans laugh? Finally, a new delegate spoke, one who had been silent throughout. I think I begin to understand. You are dangerous, yes, but you are also alive. Fully, completely alive in ways we may not be. What do you mean? Ji-won asked. We evolved in safety, the delegate explained. We didn't need the intensity you developed. Your emotions are stronger because they had to be. Your bonds are deeper because survival demanded it. Your capacity for both violence and love is greater because you exist at extremes we've never known. You're saying we're too intense? Minho asked, not sure if this was a compliment or criticism. I'm saying you're exhausting, the delegate replied, and something in their tone suggested amusement. But perhaps also valuable. Perhaps we need some of your intensity, your passion, your absolute commitment to what you believe in. Elder Sheriff stood at the center of the chamber. The Galactic Council has made its decision. We will proceed with peace negotiations. We offer humanity observer status on the Council, with full membership to be considered after a period of cultural exchange. Diane felt relief flood through him. Thank you. We accept, gratefully. But we have conditions, the elder continued. First, all human visitors to Council space must complete cultural training. You need to understand how your normal behaviors affect us. Agreed, Diane said immediately. Second, humans must work with Council medical and safety personnel to create guidelines for interaction. Your food, your environment, even your casual activities can be dangerous to us. We'll establish protocols, Yoonji promised. Safe interaction standards. Third, the elder said, and their color showed something that might have been humor. Please warn us before being heroic.